such a great point. I can't talk about the white evangelicals, but I can tell you what's going on in the black church. What the problem has been with the black church, with the faith-based initiative that started with George Bush, where a lot of black pastors, a lot of these bishops became multi-millionaires off of the faith-based initiative. What has happened since then is the pastors and the bishops have been completely silent. I'm for church.
Me and you had a prior conversation about a high-profile case that was in the news recently. Really turned my stomach looking at the pictures depicted online. The pictures depicted a brother who had, he basically had a rope. He was tied in rope. He looked like an escaped slave. The police or whoever had him detained, captured, looked like some type of bounty hunters or something like that. The slave hunters, that's what they looked like. Guys on horses, and you got this guy with this rope all tied around him. Tell me something about that. What was that all about?
Yeah, his name is Donald Neely, and I live in Houston, Texas. And that day, when I saw it flood social media like everyone else, I had the same feeling that you had. I've talked, for those who don't know, I've talked about reparations, slavery, plenty of times on Fox News. People don't believe it. Oh, you talked about it on Fox? Yeah, in fact, we did a whole segment about it on a show that I'm on often called The Next Revolution. And actually, the Fox News host actually agrees with reparations. People don't hear that, because when they hear Fox, they only hear about what 3 of the hosts say, not what everything else that goes on. But
right.
Anyway, like many of us in our generation now, reparations is, a topic that's coming back up. So that picture triggered me, similar to you and so many others. I just left my family reunion 2 weeks before that, which was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Our family reunion trip was to go to the Whitney Plantation.
Okay.
The Whitney Plantation is the only plantation in Louisiana that is dedicated to telling the stories of slaves. So most of them have, they talk about slavery, but this plantation is designed, their narratives are all throughout the plantation. So you're reading what they said, you're reading about how they were tied up, how they were beat. I mean, it's powerful, it's deep.
Right.
So when I saw that, it triggered me in a way, one, because I've worked on cases with Attorney Crump, and this was very different. It's usually about somebody being shot or killed or something. And so it triggered me because we still have to fight for the living just like we fight for the dead, even harder.
Right.
Because Donald still has to live another day.
Right.
When I saw that he was also mentally ill, and when I say mentally ill, I met this man. I'm talking about severely mentally ill. And you will see that if they release the tape.
Okay.
Not just somebody, they said, oh, bipolar and schizophrenic. No, I know functional people who are bipolar that you would never know they're bipolar.
Yep.
No, this guy is mentally ill. He's sick. And I know that from meeting him. That bothered me. The tying to the rope. I mean, like you said, the slave thing. And because Galveston, and this is what people don't understand, Juneteenth, for those who celebrate it, I say it should be a revolution every year instead of barbecuing.
Okay.
But for those who celebrate it, Juneteenth, for those of you who don't know, that was when the slaves were freed in the South, in Texas. Slaves were free in the North. They came back 2 years later and said, hey, y'all, we free. So they never knew. So it actually happened in Galveston. So the emancipation, to let people know they were free, that holiday started right there. So to march him through the streets like a runaway slave in the city where slavery was actually free, is so many significant things to that. And it doesn't matter, they got mounting policies all over the country. Okay, that's fine. That's why we're here to change that.
Right.
The image of that all. And so we're doing a march on September 15th to ask that they release the tapes. And people say, why are you marching, don't do nothing? I've said that plenty of times myself. I've said, march for what? What I want people to understand is, today, the case, those of you who are familiar, the case where the guy shot in Florida on the Stand Your Ground case.
Okay.
He was at the store, remember, it was over a handicap spot, for those who may not remember. Today, he was convicted for that on Stand Your Ground. Had Trayvon Martin ever been to any attention on Stand Your Ground, that jury would have never been informed. And so if we say, oh, you're just marching, you just bring attention, what does that really do? People don't understand the dynamics of that, and I blame the leaders for not explaining that although the state lost the criminal side, the civil side was won. People think Ben Crump loses cases, and he doesn't. He's a civil attorney.
Right.
He just brings the matter to public attention, opposed to just cutting a deal on the side and not letting it be, known. If we never talked about standing your ground, this particular case, I don't believe the jury would have been educated enough to know that it was wrong, that standing your ground was wrong.
Right.
So we have to make these public asks. I've been asked in private with this case, let's just sort it out and let's not do the march. And these ain't white folks that's telling me this. These are black folks that are telling me this.
Right.
Oh, the march ain't about nothing. So it's not about marching, singing Negro spirituals. Go listen to my statement where I said it ain't Negro spirituals. It's about making the public ask and transparent for everybody. If we have body cams but have to beg to get the tape released, then what's the point of having a body cam?
Right. So at any point did they ever disclose what it was that he did to be detained and tied
Trespassing
up?
because he's homeless. He was sleeping on the ground, from what I understand, but it was trespassing. He was homeless, and they knew he was homeless. See, and that's another thing about this, the homelessness. What are we doing to our people that we just cast them away like trash like that? Not only are you homeless and you're sick and you're ill, but now we're going to lock you up for your situation. You see what I'm saying? It's so many layers of humanity crime with this. The homelessness, the mentally ill, being black, Galveston, slavery. I mean, this is a complex, and it may not get the attention that people want.
Right.
But it's the type of thing that I like to work on, because I want to know that I'm hitting different levels of change so that we can have these tough conversations.
Did they ever offer an explanation on why he was detained the way he was and paraded through the streets?
Yeah, they said that it was the mounting policy was in place, but they did not have any formal training, so they were wrong with that.
Right.
2, it is something that they do, but it's only supposed to be for crowd control.
Right.
There was no crowd around, so there was no need for them to do what they did.
Right.
They say that the officers are nice and don't mean anything by it, but the reality is they did it. The reality is it wasn't about crowd control, because there was no crowd around. It was just completely unnecessary. And when you see how mentally ill he is, you're going to think, what if he would have kicked the horse, or the horse would have did something to him? What if he would have pulled away? I mean, he could have really been hurt.
Right.
So their explanation, actually the chief of police, who is black, has went on record and said that it was misconduct and that he was embarrassed by it. But I also say to the chief and everyone else, just because they go on record to say that it was wrong doesn't mean you don't get no punishment for it either. I could tell my mama, well, Mama, I'm sorry I did that. Well, I'm glad that you're telling me you're sorry, but there's still a consequence for it. It's better to say you're sorry than me to catch you in a lie. Just tell me what it is, and then we deal with it. So it still has to be dealt with. And how do we deal with that? That's where we're at with it.
So, based on their actions, they're gonna be pursued civilly for this situation?
I'm sure. I am Ben Crump's liaison in the media, so I want to be careful, on what I will and when I say.
Right.
But I will say this: he's a civil rights attorney. His job is to see if any civil rights have been broken, and typically, based on what he does, if any civil rights, violations are there, I'm positive he'll pursue them.
Was it a natural progression that you gravitated towards political commentary? Did you have a prior interest in politics before you took the time to go ahead and fashion your online brand?
Yeah, black media has always been important. I always knew I would do something in the media. My mother was news director's assistant at Channel 4 in Oklahoma City. So I grew up around cameras. My first commercial was at 6 or 7. It really was, I knew I would go to law school. I just never had the opportunity because I've always worked 5 different jobs, or owned a business, or moved 11 different times. I'm hopefully going to go next year now that I finally have some balance in my life.
Right.
But really, when I saw Court TV during the O.J. Simpson trial, I knew, that's it. Opinion, because I knew I could give a legal perspective and my opinion. And just like Oprah, when she just wanted to be a journalist, it didn't work for her because she wanted to give her opinion. So I didn't really know what that was until the O.J. Simpson trial. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, that's for me. But I didn't pursue it. It didn't happen that way. I just have always opened my mouth. And because I can do that and I talk fast and I can get an answer and a counter in 30 seconds, that's a good place, for cable news. But it really wasn't something I just sought out to do, because if it was, when you look at most people who are on TV that graduated from Harvard or Yale, just go look at their bios.
Right.
Formerly worked in the White House somewhere, or
right.
did some type of something. I have none of those things. So this wasn't my choice. It was my calling, and that's what makes the difference.
You're not a college graduate?
Yes, I'm a college graduate.
Okay.
I graduated in management. Actually, next month I'll be done with my master's in adult education. Next, I'm pursuing my criminal justice graduate certificate, and I'm going to law school. So no, I've always went and got the education. I'm just saying it took me over a decade just to finish my degree, 3 hours at a time,
Right.
6 hours at a time, take off 2-3 years, go back, finish, So I'm just saying I didn't go the traditional, route and aspire, I'm going to be this and going to be that. This has just been hustle and just how it failed.
So ultimately, is a career in law, possibly attorney or something like that? Is that in your future?
I'm going to law school. There's no doubt about that. I know I want to practice. I know I want to do pro bono. I know I want to do a lot of work as a public defender so I can understand why we take plea deals, what I want to do it from the desk. I've always believed in working from the desk, not going by what I heard.
Right.
But it doesn't mean I'll represent people forever, because a lot of what I do, what Attorney Crump, he cannot do. And attorneys are bound by quite a bit. And in my business, me being able to, I can say what need to be said without somebody trying to write me up or take my license.
Okay.
So I think the freedom to do what you want to do is the most powerful thing you can do in politics, which is why I'm not interested in running for office or any of those things. I like being just a wild Django. You don't never know what I might say or what I might.
Right.
That's what they fear.
Outside of these news platforms like Fox, etc., is there any other platforms where people interested in some of your theories and beliefs can check you out?
Yeah,
maybe a blog or something like that.
Yeah, I don't have time to blog a lot. I do a lot of lives on my private Facebook. I'll allow people to come over there. I do a lot of live that I put on my Instagram. But really, I want people to bring me to their city, to tell me, hey, we gathering up 30 people that want to learn about politics, they want to be trained. That's why I went and got my master in adult education. I like building programs. I want to teach you how to organize. I want to teach you to take whatever skill set you have, and I want to translate it. I've been to Congressional Black Caucus boot camp. I've been to Yale Law School for Women boot camp. I've been to Ruthless, Emily's List, all the top boot camps. The type of boot camp I'm trying to put together is somebody that never ever thought they would be in politics, never
Right.
ever thought it was a possibility. Somebody who don't even understand the language that I can break down, like bring the homies in the room, so I can show you who the OGs. I break down the Congress. This is the kingpin. This is the OGs, the BGs, the YGs, the trap. I break it all the way down. This is the work. Okay, the voters like the work. You take the work. I like breaking it down like that. And so more opportunities that I can have for that, that's what it's about. And I know they don't have a budget and they don't have this, and it's not about any of that. It's about get you some folks in the room, and I can use my reward miles and try to make it work if it makes
Right.
sense. So that's really what I want to do.
When you enter these rooms, predominantly dominated by white people, how do you take your place into the room? How do you establish you?
I think your place is your position. I've been called to do my work. So to me, it doesn't matter. I'm usually the youngest and the blackest or the only female or whatever it is. God gives me my authority.
Right.
And so when you walk in that purpose, when you know your position in life, you never question who's beside you or who's other. That's just like asking Moses, how did you take your position in front of Pharaoh, in front of kings? Either you've been called to release people or you don't. I'm an old school, Old Testament type of chick. I'm Deborah from the Book of Judges. He said General Barak, which was his name in the Bible.
Okay.
Either release my people or he's going to do it through the hands of a woman. So I have a warrior type spirit. It's no question about who's around me. I don't care. And I tell people when they challenge me, and this ain't on no cockiness, it's just being real. If you want to do what I do, then let's start by this. First step is get on Facebook Live and go to your job and tell your job what you're not gonna stand for. See, it's one thing to be a Twitter gangster, but let's get some lights, camera, action. Take your phone to
Right.
your job
Right.
and tell your job what you ain't gonna stand for. And make sure we all see it now. Tell them you ain't dealing with this shit another day.
Right.
You standing for justice. You shouldn't be 15. See, a lot of people talk behind their computer about what we need to be doing and how we need our own.
Right.
All these conversations about we need our own tables, build our own tables. Well, prove it tomorrow and get your ass up from your cubicle table and go in there and make sure you're live now and tell your boss what time it is. And then after you do that, do like I do and go tell 2 to 3 million people a week. It's the most powerful people in the country, what you're not standing for.
Right.
And once you do that, then me and you are colleagues. Other than that, you just talking from a stance. We appreciate you being from a stance. No question about it. Somebody got to cheer from a stance. But to have a conversation with a player in the game, you don't have enough skin in the game. The best thing I give, and I'm sure you're closing in a second, but the best thing I give, especially to the streets, you need to understand when you Trey and when you Cube. And what I mean by that is, in Boys in the Hood, those from the 90s or those who watch Boys in the Hood, Trey had a specific purpose. And his purpose was never about riding in the car.
Nope.
Even though he thought he wanted to do that. Even though he said, oh man, I'm going with you, dope boy, put me in the car, I'm down, I'm this, I'm that. When it came down to it, he said, let me out, dope boy. And dope boy turned around, looked at him and said, looked at him like, nigga, we knew you was Trey all along. See,
right.
You need to know when your ass is Trey. Let's go ahead and get out the car. It's okay, nothing wrong with being Trey. Somebody
Nope.
got to go to Morehouse. Somebody got to get that degree. But you ain't Cube. Because Cube is an assassin. And when we look at politics, I'm an assassin in this game. I'm not just going to do no drive-bys. See, y'all doing drive-bys on Twitter, talking behind fake names and all that.
Right.
I'm going straight up to your dome. Notice in the movie, not only did he shoot old boy down, he got out and went straight up to the dome. Now, I'm not condoning it. I'm using it as a metaphor.
Right.
That you got ice cubes and you got Treys. And I ain't Trey.
Right.
So Trey going to either get two things. He going to get us killed because you scary, or you going to get us locked up.
Right.
Because you're going to tell on everybody. So know your role, in what we do. And I think we can move forward, and that's where you'll see in 2020, you'll see a lot of people be exposed for the Treys and for the Cubes. 10 is see no enemies no more, biblical numerology with Pharaoh. That's why we had 10 commandments. 2020 is 10 times 2, twofold. And you're going to see a lot of people exposed. That's why you have a lot of pundits out there now that said they were one thing 2 years ago,
right.
And they done totally flipped and they something else. The time's gonna come real quick and fast where you're gonna have to pick a side or step aside, and I'm here for it.
You've been an incredible guest. You
Thank
really,
you.
really about it. And you definitely got some gangster in you, whether you want to admit it or not. Again, I appreciate your time,
Thank
sis.
you.
Go ahead and drop your social media info so they can keep up with you, and then sign out from Gully TV.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Tezlyn Figaro, Tezlyn, last name Figaro, one of a kind. You won't find another name out there like it. So anywhere you find that, it is me. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TezlynFigaro.com. Here live on Gully TV. Like I always say, use it, lose it, can't make you choose it. Either you gonna get the game, I'm just gonna drop it. I'm here to give you a little bit of game drop, and hopefully I'll be back and check in with you as your official hip hop real homegirl.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a motherfucking G. Yeah, I'm talking murder, but it's me. I'm really living everything you see. That's what you said. They love to make a lie out of me. To the day that I expire, I'm a G. I'm a motherfucking G. They would love to make a lie out of Razor. Shoot and catch him out dark with the laser.